Welcome to the decimal greater than less than project here on DiscoverTron. My name's Ryan and I teach computer science. Let's go ahead and jump into this project and check it out. We're going to be using Scratch today. If you're new to Scratch or if you've never messed with Scratch, this will be a good video to start from because I'm going to walk you all the way through from beginning to end on creating a project, and I'll go ahead and infer that you don't know anything about Scratch. Or if you're just curious about Scratch, this will be a good place to start as well. What we'll be doing is we're going to make this simple little, it's kind of a game. It's not a super fun video game, but it's more of an educational related game. This is good for Scratch Day or a day of code, or just if you want to reinforce some mathematic exercises or just general programming skills. What we'll do in this project is we are going to have the program ask a user to enter in a difficulty range, let's say 2. And based upon your difficulty range, random numbers will be generated, and then the user will have to go through and pick which choice is greater than, less than, or equal. So we have 5.8 versus 42.40, and let's go ahead and say that B is greater than. We click on that. And you can probably hear some audio coming out of my computer when I do that. So that's basically what we're going to do. It's going to keep score, tell you the rounds, and then the user will have an opportunity to keep playing the game. Okay? Nothing super complex with the actual output. However, getting this all to run like so is going to require a little bit of work. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and switch over to the student copy of this file. If you subscribe to this channel, you'll get access to all these files, so you'll be able to use them in your classroom or at home, whichever one you choose. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up that video and pause and switch. Okay, this is the student copy, and you'll notice it has all the same exact artwork as the previous one. However, I've deleted all the code and the variables and broadcast messages, so you'll get the opportunity to make those on your own. Some data is already populated here within these variable windows, which are the the orange windows. Don't worry about that so much. Just worry that this is blank for the sprite called CalcuCat. Okay, I wrote that name and I have a hard time pronouncing it. And you know what? I just realized that I said I'm going to switch and open up a new video. What I meant to say was I'm going to switch and open up a new Scratch file. Okay, quick rundown. You have your stage over here on the left-hand side. You can program on the stage. However, there's a few things you cannot do. You can't move the stage around. The stage is static. It does not move. You can manipulate the stage by changing some of the backdrop images. That's pretty much what you're limited to. There's a few other items. The main thing with the stage is you can use it to host code. In our example, I just put some backdrops on here. I just put the picture from the Scratch library of pictures and typed in the title of this slide on there. Okay, you also notice that we have a blank backdrop. Okay, so if you want to, you can come in here and change these up if you want. And then over here are the sprites. These are the objects that we'll program. Okay, we'll use the term sprites and objects synonymously within these videos. So if I say sprites or objects, just know that I'm talking about the same thing. And I like to use those words together because when we start talking about more advanced programming things, the word objects is going to be our dominant term. All right, let's program CalcuCat. This is where all the main actions are going to take place. This is where all the coding is going to happen. This cat does all of our thinking right here. Okay, all the graphics right here have already been lined up for you. If you want to change them up, you're more than welcome to. However, I wouldn't change anything until you actually have the program working. Quickly, I'm going to show you the sprites right here. The costumes are on this side, and here's where you can go and adjust these images. And I just took images from the Scratch library and just changed them up a little bit to make it look like it would work for this project here. Okay, let's program the cats. So make sure you have cats selected. And I have another video that shows you the ins and outs of Scratch, so you might want to watch that. So first things first, let's go ahead and get our green hat tool. This is what starts everything off. We want to set the XY coordinate for our cats. I have mine already set to -4 and 40. Yours will probably say the same thing if you're using my file. And that's just the coordinates that were left over from the previous project model you saw. If you didn't have yours on there, all you have to do is double click inside of it and then type in -4 and come over here and type in 40. Okay, and you can change the coordinates to whatever you want. Okay, if you want to, you can just go ahead and double click on it and see if the cat works. And it gives those coordinates. If I have the cat over here, double click, boom, goes right there. Okay, next we want to use the go to front. Okay, I choose that one just to make sure that the cat's always in front at the beginning of the program. Next, we are going to set some variable values, and these didn't delete. I forgot they deleted. Give me a second and I'll delete them right now. Okay, they have been magically deleted. Now, some of you are probably thinking, hey, wait a minute, I could just pause the video and rewind and go back and look at all those variables and type them up myself. You're more than welcome to do that. There's nothing wrong with it. However, for instructional purposes, sometimes I like to just type the variables up as I move forward. So that way there's not a whole list of variables and it gives the user something to do. And also it helps you to make sure you pay attention to detail, because misspelling variables or putting them in different than what you should be doing could cause some issues. And plus, it's good to see how to make a variable. All right, so first things first, we're going to make a variable. Right here, we have a choice between making it for all sprites and for this sprite only. This is what we would call a global variable, where it's for all the sprites. And for this sprite only, that means it's kind of local or an instant variable to that particular object. We don't want to work with these right now, even though in the grand scheme of things, that's the way to do it. However, for our purposes, this makes things a little bit easier, and easy is the name of the game today. So we're going to create a variable called play again. Now I'm going to click on OK, and then we'll take our set play again variable and put it right there, and we're going to set this to a value of y, capital Y. Okay, it's important that you put a capital Y. Okay, you could put a lowercase y, but I wouldn't. Keep it as capital, and I'll explain as we go further along. Next, we're going to create another variable. We're going to call this one round, and we're going to set round to 0. We'll just keep it 0 for now. We'll change that value as we start the other parts of the program. Next, we're going to create a variable called score. We'll put that right there. Create another variable, and we'll call this one difficulty. Did I spell that right? Oh, difficulty. So let's go back and change that. Did I get that right? Yeah, it's difficulty. If I misspell a word, I'm sorry. You know, I'm human, and Scratch doesn't have spell check in my defense. Which you're probably thinking, hey, you got a master's degree, you should know how to spell. And I'm not going to argue with you. Yes, I should. Okay, so we're going to grab a broadcast with the name of the message and wait. What this will do is it's going to send a message out to the other functions within this program, and it's going to wait for that function to complete its job. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, what's this one? We're going to create this message as set. Whoa, there, see that? I misspelled that word on difficulty. Okay, so set difficulty. That's going to be the message name. And it's going to send a message out to a function that's going to set the difficulty for this particular program. I didn't mention this, but the difficulty value is set by this value right here. And we got it set to 0 because in another function, it's going to actually set that value to 1, 2, or 3. And you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Let's just build out that other function while we're doing this. So let's get a when I receives block, and we're going to set it to the set difficulty message. So whenever this block receives this message, it'll start performing an action. Next, we want to go get our best friend, the repeat until block. Repeat until block is pretty cool because it keeps repeating things for you. It has this little Boolean shape, which is the hexagon shape. That's Boolean in Scratch. And what it does is it allows you to make decisions based upon some conditions within here. And you can keep repeating until these conditions become true or false. It kind of depends on what you want. Next, with our operators, we're going to use the OR operator here. I'm going to right click and just choose duplicate, put it right inside there. Okay, you see what I did? I duplicated it, then I put it right there. Okay, so this is sitting right there. Now I'm going to plug it inside here in a second, but first I want to build this out because it can get kind of cumbersome trying to manipulate all these different blocks. I want to get my difficulty value. I'm going to put it right down here, and we're going to go over here to operators. We're going to get the equal operators, and I'll put it right there. And I'm going to take my difficulty and place it inside of it. Okay, so now I have something that looks like this. I'm going to right click and choose duplicate one more time, and now I should have 3 of these right here. And inside this data entry block, or little square, or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to put 1. So if we put 1, that's going to be easy. If we put 2, it's going to be medium. 3, it's going to be hard. And you can see that you can get all sorts of crazy with this stuff and, you know, make these as big as you want or whatever. So the first one I'm going to place right here in the first little Boolean hexagon shape and place it right there. And just so you know what Boolean means when I'm talking about Booleans, that means something is true or false. Okay, so when we say Boolean, we're talking about something is true or false. And we're checking to see if this is true, or if this is true, or if this is true. Okay? And next I'm going to drag my other one right here, and then drag my other one right there. Okay? We'll take this OR. You want to grab the left one right here, not this right one. If you grab the right one, it's going to break out of there. So you got to get the most bottom block to move them all at the same time. And you want to place it right inside of the repeat until block. Okay, so when this message is received for set difficulty, we're going to keep repeating the instructions inside here until we get a 1, 2, or 3. And I'll show you how that's going to work. We are going to go to sensing, and we're going to get this block called ask. And what it's going to do is the computer is going to prompt the user to enter in some information. And you can type in whatever you want, but I'm going to type in the question, which difficulty level would you like? Okay, 1 for easy, 2 for medium, 3 for hard. Okay, whoops. So we'll take that and put it inside here. Now this is going to have the computer ask the user to enter in a value. And let's just go ahead and look at what happens when we test this out. It says we ran through all of our values right here, and you notice they're appearing right over here on the side. I'll show you how to get rid of that in a second. Okay, so it came down to this message and sent it over here, and down right here in this blue box, right over here, we're going to type in the difficulty. Let's go ahead and put in 1, press enter, and we are good. Okay, so it took 1. Okay, so it's taken in the answer. Sorry about that. I was thinking it needed to stop, but I remember that it's still running. Okay, so it got our answer. We did it correctly. Now, if we put in the wrong value, it would do something, but we haven't programmed it. Say if they put in the letter R or something, okay, it's not going to do anything. And I'll show you how we can check that right now. So we want to get a data value, or not data, data block. Come over here and get the set difficulty, and we want to get the sensing. This right here is called a reporter block. This is going to have your data stored in it from what they enter in with the ask block right here. So when you enter in the difficulty level, it's going to get stored in this blue answer, and then the answer is going to transfer this information in this orange block to the variable called difficulty. And you can see difficulty right here. So let's go ahead and play this. And we press 1 and enter, and you'll notice the difficulty changed to 1 right there. Let's run it again, and let's test out, say 3, and you can click on this check mark box if you want to, and now it's set to 3. Now here's our test. Let's say you got some funny person, and they're like, ha 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 ha, you know, I'm not going to enter in a value that you asked for. You press enter, and the value gets set anyways. However, notice right here, it's still prompting you to keep doing it, okay? And it only disappears once you put in the value 1, 2, or 3. You'll notice that I put in the 1 value right there, and that caused it to stop. All right, let's finish building out the set difficulty function. And we want to come over here to our control, and we're going to get these if-else blocks. We'll go ahead and put them right there. And we're going to do something called nesting. We're going to take 2 if-else blocks and put them inside of each other. You might be wondering, what in the world do these if-else blocks do? Okay, if-else blocks allow you to make decisions based upon conditions. The conditions that go into these Boolean values, the hexagon shapes, will look for something to be true or false. And if it's true, we're going to perform an action inside the first little space here. If it's false, then we're going to go to the else section. Now, I probably should have broken them apart when I explained this. Okay, so the first condition right here, if means if it's true, we go to this part right here and perform this code. If it's false, then we go down to the else section. And let's go ahead and put in our values before we plug this in. I want to get a operator. We're going to get the equals symbol. Then we want to get the difficulty variable. And we're going to plug it right there. And we're going to say if difficulty equals 1, then we want to set some values to a certain level here. Oh, and I don't even have those variables. I forgot to leave those all. Okay, so let's go ahead and make some variables here for our next step. We're going to create a variable called high range, or high rants. Okay, and then we'll create another variable called low range. And click on OK. So you have these two variables, and we want to grab two set blocks. You can drag two of them out if you like. So we'll have our low range and our high range. And I'm going to change the value to high range. Okay, click on that little black triangle shape. And we want to set it to a value of, let's say for low range, let's keep that at 1. And then for high range, let's go ahead and make that a value of 10. Okay, and you can change these to whatever you want. But for now, I would just keep them to what I have, just so you make sure your program runs effectively. All right, so there we have it. We know if the difficulty is set to 1 from the user entering information right up here, then if that's true, then we'll set these two variable values to a 1 and 10. If it's false, that means they didn't choose 1. They put like 2 or 3. It'll come down to this else section. In this else section, we're going to put another if condition. And what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if difficulty was set to 2. And here's a quick way to get it. Come up here to your equals Boolean block. Right click, choose duplicate, and drag it down here and change that to a value of 2. And now you have this set up. So if this is true, we perform this action. If this is false, we come down into the else block and we see another nested if else block. And the first thing we do is to check to see if difficulty is equal to 2. If that's true, then we want to set low range and high range to a different value. So I'm going to right click, choose duplicate, so I can just easily get those blocks. And here I'm going to create my low range to be 1 and my high range to be 100. And then furthermore, if they have not picked 2, that means they picked 3. Okay, by default they had to pick 3, because if they didn't pick 1, we went to this else section, which checks this if condition. And if they didn't pick 2, we come down to this else section. So let's go ahead and duplicate. Whenever I duplicate, notice I right click on the top block, and what it'll do is it'll select every block below that, and I can click and drag them down to the wherever I want to use them. So for low range, we're going to make this real difficult for the values. We're going to make it -100, and the positive value will be just a positive 100. Or excuse me, high range will be a positive 100. And then I'm going to go ahead and drag that right there. So we are done with this function. And let's just go ahead and test it out. Let's say I want a value of 3 for my difficulty. Press enter. And you can see right here my high range and low range are 100 and -100. So hopefully yours works. If you want to, test out. See if you can catch somebody not pressing what they need to. You'll notice that it keeps asking the question over and over and over again. Say they put in 66 or 7 or something like that. Okay. You'll notice it keeps asking the same question over and over again until you put in a 3. And then it'll let you move forward. All right. And this all happens right here with this broadcast block. It sends a message to this function, which is all this instruction or algorithm, if you will. And then once it's done, this program will move to the code below it. And right now we don't have anything below it, so let's go ahead and get started with making the rest of this function. All right, we want to get a repeat until block, which we'll keep repeating until we're done. We want to go to operators, get the equals Boolean block, and we want to get a variable called play again, and we'll go ahead and drag it right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, as long as play again is set to no, okay, or excuse me, if this is true, we're going to keep repeating everything inside of it. Okay? Oh, whoa, I said that backwards. All right, we're going to keep repeating everything inside of it until this is true. All right, so when they put N for no to play again, which will come further along when we ask them that question if they want to play again, until they put N for no, we'll keep repeating the instructions that run the game, which will be everything inside this repeat until block. So it's going to get pretty, it's not big, but it'll be larger than most stuff you've done so far. Notice right here, we set play again to Y for yes. By setting it to Y for yes, or you could put any value in there if you wanted to. I just put Y because I want to keep us consistent with the data that's being put into this variable. So by putting it to Y, that means when we get down here that this is false. Okay, play again does not equal N. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that, and we can automatically start executing our code inside. Down here, I'm going to choose a go to front. Now you're probably wondering, hey, you put one right up there, why are you putting another one? I'm doing this to make sure that the cat is still in front of everything. Okay, sometimes your layering can get messed up from people clicking and dragging, or something gets processed out of order. By telling it to go to front, we're always ensuring that the cat is going to be on top of stuff. Okay, next we want to get a data block, and we want to get change. This means we can add or subtract or multiply, divide, whatever kind of mathematical operation we want. We can change a variable value. In this case, we want to get the variable called round, and we're going to change it by 1. So that means as soon as the game starts, we're going to change round by 1, which makes it round 1. How do I know that? We start at 0. So the first time we go into this piece of code, round will get added 1 to it, and that makes it go from 0 to 1. So we know we're on round 1. Right up here is the round variable. So let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and put 1 in just to, let's put in a value that shouldn't get processed. I'm going to put in R. You notice it keeps repeating. Press 1 and watch what happens. Our high range and our low range values will change. And you'll notice they have numbers in from the last time we inputted value. That's okay. Don't worry about that, okay? There's ways to clear it out, but for our program, it's not that complex. We don't have to worry about that. Okay, so high range, low range will get resetted to these values right here when I press enter, and then round 1 will have a 1 value show up, because once this code completes, this broadcast message will allow this to execute. And there you go. Oh no, it's going out of control. All right, I forgot about that. The reason it's doing that is because this keeps repeating. And in the rest of our function, we're actually going to perform some more actions, which will stop this from happening. But for right now, if your round number is going out of control, that means you are on the right path. Okay, here we are. We are going to finish this one out. Well, hold on. We're not going to finish the whole thing. We're going to piece this together. We want to get a say block. Say will allow the sprite to make a little talking bubble appear above the head of the character. So if I double click this, you can see that the cat says hello. We're going to use it for a little bit different purpose. We're going to tell the cat to give the user information about what round we're on. So we're going to go to operators, and we're going to get this cool little block here called join, and we're going to plug it right here in this rectangle shape, which is a data input area or a text input area. And this is going to allow us to put join. We're going to say round, hit space, so there's a space there. Then we're going to take our variable value called round, there it is, and plug it into the second part of that text input area. So whenever we run the program, we'll put it right there below change. Make sure it's inside the repeat until. And when this runs, we press 2, enter. It says round 1, round 2, and 3, 4. And you notice it's not going as slow. That's because this piece of code right here is making it slow down because we're saying this for 2 seconds. Next, we want to get a repeat block, and this is where you can control how often the game runs. So you put the repeat block right underneath that say, and we're going to change this value to say 2. Now, if you wanted to, you can make it 20 or 10 or whatever it is that you want. This is what's going to run how many questions the user will have to answer when the game runs. Right now, we're just going to put 2 because I don't want the game to run very long because I'm still testing it out. So make a note, this repeat block is where you want to change it to make the game longer or shorter. we want to get some broadcast blocks. We're going to get the broadcast and wait. I'm going to right click, choose duplicate, and make one more. So I have 3 of these. And we're going to come down here and we're going to create a new message. We're going to call this one set variables. And we'll create another one below that called randomized variables. And finally, we'll create another one called set answer. And these messages are going to do the same thing that this one did right here, where they're going to call different functions to perform some sort of action. Set variables will set all the variables up for the game. Randomized variables will randomize the information so that way the user doesn't get the same question every time. And then set answer will determine what the correct answer is, and then it's going to wait for the user to, well, not wait for the user, but it's going to allow us to set up so that the user, when they enter information, they'll be able to know if they got the answer right or wrong. Okay, so put those 3 right in there. And let's go ahead and, do I want to do that now? Yeah, what the heck? Let's do it. All right, so let's go ahead and create our set variable block up. Okay, it's pretty easy. Let's go over here when I receive, and I'm going to drag this one down, set difficulty. You probably already have it, so I'm going to put the change. Oh, no, I don't want that one. We want to choose set variables right there. And we're going to set 4 variable values. So let's go to data, and we're going to choose set. I'm going to right click, duplicate, right click on the top one, duplicate, and it gives me 2 more, and I have all 4 right there. Our first one is going to be player answer. You notice we don't have that over here, so we're going to go ahead and create that variable. We'll call it player answer. And I can come over here and just change it to player answer. Next, we want to say output A. And output A is going to be from our random number generation that we'll do here in a second. Okay, I'll show you what all that means. Our next one will be output B. I'll change that to such. And then our last one is going to be valid entries. So come here and we'll create this one called valid entries. Okay, and just so you know, we could have done this a lot of different ways. I could have made the variables, then dragged over the block as we created each one. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have the correct variable created, you understand your spelling that you did for it, and you know where everything is located. For our player answer, we're going to set that to 0 for right now. Okay, the player will answer information in by clicking on these letters, and I'll show you how to do that later. Output A, we're going to put in this little code right here, N, lowercase a, capital N. That stands for not a number, okay? We probably don't need it on this program, but it's a good habit to get into, especially if you want to reuse these variables or you get into some sort of division. Same thing for output B, NaN, and that stands for not a number. So think of some of your rules for dividing. If you try to divide a number by 0, is that possible? Nope, because it's not a number. All right, so that's why we're putting that in here, just in case. We won't run into this situation with this particular project, but I'll go ahead and do it just to show you that we can put these values in to kind of have a safety precaution as we move into the future. Valid entries, we're going to go ahead and set this to false. Whoa, can't see because my cursor's away. So we set that to false, so that way when we go through and check to see if the user put in correct information, it's automatically set to false. Now allows us to check to see if it's true or not, and if it's true, then we can change the value. So let's go ahead and we finalize set variables. Now let's move to randomized variables. Okay, this is a little bit more interesting. So when I receive the randomized variables message, we'll go ahead and set output A and output B to a particular value. I'm just going to do one at a time right now because They're the same exact code, and I'll show you how to duplicate it in a second. So set output A, and this one's going to be a little bit more difficult. If you're new to programming, it's going to kind of twist your mind around a little bit, which is fine. There's nothing wrong. That's why we're here, for a challenge. We want to get the join block, and you know what? Why don't you go ahead and let's get 2 of those right there. And we want to get another block that we haven't talked about in this video, pick random number, and we're going to need 2 of these. Okay, so I've got my blocks right here, and I'm going to start building this out. First thing I'm going to do is get my pick random number blocks built out the way I like them. I'm going to come over here and get my low range. That's going to be the number on the left. Okay, think of these number blocks as the number on the left is the low, and the number on the right is high. Scratch is pretty flexible, and you can put the high on the left and the low on the right, but it's good to keep a good convention going. And you know, I could have just duplicated that. Let's just do that. Right click, duplicate. Now I have it automatically. I'm going to just delete that one because I don't need it. So now I have these right here. So I'm going to take this pick random number and put it on the left hand side like so. And then here inside the hello, I'm going to put a period. Okay, that's going to represent the decimal point. Okay, and then we are going to take that block and put it right here where I had the world. See, well, it used to say world. I'm going to take this block and put it right inside there. Next, I'm going to take this one and put it where it says hello. Okay, now we got this fancy little block here that takes a random number between, let's say, 1 to 10, and it joins it, or here's our big computer term, it concatenates it with the period and the low range, high range random numbers from this join block. So what's happening is we'll have, say, a random number. Let's say it picks 2 on this random number range right here. It's going to say 2. It's going to join it with the period, which makes it a decimal point. So 2 point, let's say this one picked 9. So now the number will be 2.9. Let's go ahead and put that right there inside output A. Now I'm going to right click, choose duplicate, put it down below, and then I'm going to set this variable value to output B. Okay, the reason we have to do that is because Scratch won't generate a random number, and this is a good way to generate a random number, and most importantly, to be able to control the value of the decimals on the backside. Okay, there's other ways to do this. However, I like this way because it uses concatenation, and you know, just I guess it's colorful and it makes me feel good about myself. All right, so we're going to put it right there underneath randomized variables. And you notice right here we have output A and output B. I'm going to go ahead and close some of these, like the round. Yeah, we don't need that right now. We don't need score. We don't need valid entries or player answer or play again. Let's keep low range, high range. Let's get rid of difficulty. So you can see those values right there. So I'll click on play. I'm going to set it to 1 just so we know the numbers. Press enter. And then my range is 10 to 1, and then my output A is 8.2, and well, the numbers are changing. Okay, that's because this block of code keeps running right here. Okay, if it didn't, then you'd notice that it would stop at some point in time. But you can see we get some nice decimal numbers here that don't get higher on the 1s and 10s values of higher than 10, and then over here on the right hand side of the decimal point, it keeps it under control where it doesn't go beyond 10. So that way you don't have some scenario where you have 15, 16 different decimal points all the way out. Oh, what are we doing next? I forgot where I was. Okay, set answer. Let's go ahead and set the answer. And we need to go over here to events. And you notice anytime I'm broadcasting a message, whoops, I have to find the matching hat block for that message and set its message that it receives to the same exact message that is sent. So this is set answer, and inside here we're going to use our good friends, the nested if else blocks. So I have one if else block, right click, duplicate, get another one, and then right here we're going to go to the operators and get my greater than symbol. Okay, with this Boolean block, you can see that. I'm going to put it inside this first one. And we're going to get data because we want the variable value output A. I'm going to right click, choose duplicate, and put that there. Whoops, that's output A. I don't want that. So I'm going to right click, and it gives me the options of all the different variables right here. I'm going to choose output B. Okay. Next, we want to choose set, and we're going to set our correct answer. Whoa, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. That's valid answers. That's checking a true or false. But I don't have a set answer on what I want to, or a correct answer, excuse me, what I want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and create that variable. I'm going to call it correct answer. Click on OK. Choose correct answer from my list. Come over here. And if output A is greater than output B, we're going to select the correct answer to be the letter A, which will be represented by the A buried behind output B and A's variables right there. Okay. Right click, choose duplicate. Down here, I'm going to duplicate this greater than symbol. If you want to duplicate it, click on the, right click above the greater than symbol and choose duplicate, and it'll allow you to drag it down here. Here we're going to say, actually, if output B is greater than output A, so if output B is greater than output A, then the correct answer is going to be B. And last but not least, duplicate, put this right here. If A is not larger than B and B is not larger than A, then the correct answer choice will be C, which will be the equal symbol right here in the middle. Okay, let's go ahead, and right here's our correct answer. Click on the play button. I'm going to use 1 just to keep it under control. And you should notice that it's set B as the correct answer choice because the value output B 10.2 is greater than 1.4. So everything's working pretty good so far. We're not done yet. We got a few more items to make. I'm going to drag this down here. I'm going to drag this over here. I'm kind of move this out of the way so I can have some nice workspace. Okay, what in the world do I want to do next? Oh yeah, looks. And let's go over here and get a say block. So we need to ask the user a question. Just imagine you're giving this program to a friend so they can review some basic math skills. So let's ask them a question. And which is larger? Okay, we want to save value A, value B, or are they equal? Okay, and that's going to prompt the user to enter in the information. And you know what? I don't like this block because it limits me to 2 seconds. Instead, I'm going to use a say block right here, and I'm going to replace all the information here. I'm going to double click, and it's going to allow me to select all the values. Hit Control X on your keyboard, Control X, so you can cut everything out, and then come inside this say block, hit Control V to paste, take this say block and just drag out to the side and delete it, and then put this one in there to replace it, and now you have a message on the sprite that won't disappear. The ones that have the say block with the for 2 seconds, the message will disappear over the amount of time that you have here. By not having that time on this one, it'll just stay up indefinitely. And next, this is another cool block. We want, whoops, wrong area. We want to use a wait until. We're going to put that right underneath say. And this is what's going to control our program, or the pacing of our program, excuse me, the pacing of our program. And we're going to say if the user has not entered any information, then this function is just going to sit here and wait until they do, until your laptop battery runs out, or you lose electricity, or it's time to go to lunch. Okay, we're going to sit there and wait till we get our answer. Now you could put a timer someplace else that stops that. However, for our purposes, we're just going to make the computer wait. And we want to tell it to wait until the answer is not 0. This is kind of confusing at first. We're going to use this block that says not. So what we're saying is wait until something is not true. Okay, until it's not true. And what we're seeing, if it's not true, I'm going to go ahead and put my equals block over here. And let's go to data. And where's player? Whoa, which one was I looking for? Player answer. We'll put player answer there. And this is going to tie in together. All right. So while player answer is equal to 0, okay, if this is true, then this program is just going to sit here and wait. And you notice for our player answer right over here on setting variables, we set the answer variable to 0 at the beginning. So that way we automatically had it set up to stop the program and wait for the user to enter in information. And they enter information by clicking on the B, the A, or the equal symbol. And we'll set those up here in a minute. Okay, so long as the player answer, long as this is true, this program is going to wait. When it's not true, right here, when it's not true that player answer equals 0, then we'll move forward. And when we move forward, we're going to use another broadcast block. We are going to use a function called change the score. And change the score is going to check the user answers to see if they inputted it or input the answer incorrectly. So go ahead and put broadcast change score, and let's build out our change score block of code. So again, come over here and get your hat block for change score, and we want to get a if else block from under control. Put it right there like so, and get an operator for the equals, and go to data, get your player answer, and get the correct answer. So we're going to say, okay, if the player answer equals the correct answer, remember correct answer came from the set answer function right here. Okay, that's where we set the correct answer. And player answer is coming from the player clicking on one of these three objects, the letter A, equal symbol, or B. If it equals, then that means they got it correct. And to show them they got it correct and be nice, we're going to change the score value by 1. Okay? And we're also going to have some fun. We're going to play some sounds. And we're going to choose the play sound. We'll put it right there. And I can't remember if I set, yep, cheer is automatically put in there for you. Okay, we're going to change it to cheer. And you're probably wondering, where did this come from? Over here on the sound tab, click on that. I have these sound values already put into the program. If you click on the sound library, you can go through all the different sounds that Scratch has for you. You can go through and change these. You can manipulate the sound values inside this editor. I'm not going to really touch on that right now, but you all can play around with these or go watch the other video that shows you how to use this inside Scratch. Okay, so we're going to play sound, and you know what, it'd be nice if we told the user they're correct. So we'll say, while the sound's playing, you are correct. And you can put anything in there. You can tell them a funny message if you want. Now, let's say that this is not true. If this is not true, the player answer does not equal the correct answer, that means we're going to the else section here, that means they're unfortunately wrong. So we're going to do the same thing down here as we did above, except we need to subtract 1, and we don't want to cheer them on for being wrong. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't think it's good. And then we want to give them another message. So right click, and we're going to duplicate that whole block. We're going to change score by -1. We could not change the score off if we didn't want to. I changed it by -1 so I can see the value going up and down. And then we're going to put the boing sound on here, okay, because everybody loves the boing sound, right? And instead of saying you are correct, let's maybe say you are incorrect. Or I bet you could have a lot of fun with putting a mean message down here. I don't encourage you doing that, but you know, sometimes it's fun to put a funny message in there, right? Okay, speaking of fun, I hope you're having fun right now. Let's see, that's our change score. We got that down here. Let's go ahead and go to events. And now that we've got the program running, okay, we're going to change the score. Let's test this out before we do anything. Let's press 1 for round 1. Okay, which value is larger, A equals or B? And you know what? We don't have this program, so we can't really test it. I totally forgot that. Okay, so as long as it's getting to this point in time, the round number is not changing. Let's verify that by clicking on round. Okay, it should be round 1. There you go. If it's still round 1, then you're in the right spot. All your variables filled out correctly. Output A's, a value that should fall within that's easy, medium, or difficult. Same with output B. In your high range and low range are the same, and there's a correct answer being shown. Okay, now we can't test it yet because we got to finish building out the A equals and B, which we will do here in a second. I want to go ahead and finish this function first. Okay, our broadcast message that we're going to use, let's go ahead and get broadcast and wait, and we're going to create a new message called play again question, and go ahead and you're going to put that underneath the repeat block, okay, which is the repeat right here. Whoa, if you ever do that, just click and drag it and put it back. Okay, so there's the repeat block. It ends right here, and we're putting the broadcast play again question and wait right below that. It's still within the repeat until block. And our play again question, let's go ahead and I'm going to drag this off to the sides. By the way, whatever order you put these in, it doesn't really matter. Okay, just as long as you know where they are, you can drag these off till they're off the screen. That's perfectly fine. And you can drag around in here and look for stuff. And you know what? I forgot that I didn't delete that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Sorry, I have that. And then here's my play again question. Okay, see there, you got to be careful when in Scratch. Your blocks can actually hide from you. All right, so here is the code for play again question. It's right here. Make sure I have the right broadcast message. So we're going to set play again to a question mark, okay, just hold a value, and we're going to keep repeating until play again equals N for no or Y for yes. And inside that block, we will put this ask block right here to prompt the user to enter in information. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Since I went ahead and created it, I'm going to move on to the next sprites. I think you probably already have this down since we've covered similar functions. The answer block, I didn't really talk about this too much. The answer reporter block right here gets the information from this ask block right here. And you can see what's being entered up here on the sensing by check marking this right here. You'll notice answer shows up over here on the left-hand side or wherever you want it to be. You can't change the name of this, okay? It's automatically always going to be answer, okay? That's one thing with Scratches. They set it up so that you could have like a default variable to store information from this asking question right here. Now that we're done with our cat, I'm going to go ahead and right click, choose clean up, and all my functions automatically get lined up over here. Let's move on to Sprite 2. Sprite 2 is just the background, but I'm going to program it because the users are clicking on this letter A, and I don't want the users to accidentally click on this background. Just to show you what I mean, if I click on the run button and maximize the screen, if I come over here, well, I can't click on it right now, but let's minimize it here and run. If I come over here, I can click and drag on this, okay? I don't want them to be able to do that because sometimes the program will run out of this small window with the users. So we're going to stop that by doing a certain little programming trick here. Okay, I'm going to come over here and get my green flag tool, then tell the block that I want to go back 10 layers. Where's my go back 1 layers? And layers are a graphics and animation term because you notice everything works in layers right here. So by going back 10 layers, we're forcing it to be at the back of the screen. Okay, now the ultimate back will always be the stage. Okay, nothing can get behind the stage. However, all of our sprites, they can stack up on top of each other. You can see that our cat is able to go in front because I tell it to go to the front. Whoa, get back here. All right, so Sprite 2, we're going to tell it to go back 10 layers. And then to stop the user from being able to drag it around, I'm going to put a forever block, and then I'm going to tell it to go to certain XY coordinates. And for our purposes, I'm going to put a -169. The value is not so important. You could probably change it up wherever you want and have no problems. But I'm just going to automatically put it to this because that's where I knew it looked good. And then again, I'm going to tell it to go back 10 layers as well, forever in that block. Okay, just as we start and stop the program or repeat the game over and over again, this will always be behind the letter A. So if I run the program, you'll notice it automatically appears back there. If I drag it off, it snaps back into place, okay? So if they're trying to be funny and they're like, hey, I'm going to mess up your program, which can happen, all right? So watch out. This will force it to go back automatically. Now in the large screen, I forgot, you can't drag that around, okay, because it's not set up to do those type of things. You have to program it to drag the objects, and we're not doing that right now. Okay, so that makes sure it goes to the right spot. The other sprite 3, which is this blue background, we want to do the same thing. Instead, I'm going to make it easy on myself by duplicating this code, by dragging and dropping it right above sprite 3. And then I'll come over here and I'm going to keep the same X value, but I'm going to make it a positive. Whoa. I'm sorry. I got the wrong value. I want it to go to, we're going to keep the Y at 15, and for our X value, we'll put in 132. Okay, that should look good. So there we are. So now the B one's doing the same exact thing. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And next we want to move on to our A block right over here. We want to have the user be able to click on it to make something happen. And our function, I forgot it's underneath controls, we want to find the block that says when this sprite is clicked, and oh, I passed right by it. Okay, so when this sprite is clicked, for A, we're going to set the player answer to A. Find set player answer, and we're choosing A right here. Next, we want the code to actually do something while it's running. So let's go to events, and we're going to get a repeat until. We're going to keep repeating a certain piece of code until it happens. And we're going to get our operators, and we're going to get the equals, and we want the play again variable. And put it right there. Put a capital N, and then we want its go to, its XY coordinates, we'll put it right there, and -172, -70, that looks pretty good for the A block. And we always want to tell it to go to the front, which is right here, and we're going to say if, let's get it if else. We'll go ahead and drag that right there, and we're going to nest another if else block in the if section right here. And here we'll go ahead and get a sensing, and we're going to say if it's touching the mouse pointer, if that's true, we're going to perform an action right in here. Okay, if it's false, it's not touching the mouse pointer, then we'll just go to else, which will just be default. Okay, and I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. And inside this if condition, we want to make sure that it's the mouse pointer still on it, and we're going to have it also check to see if the mouse is down. Okay, so if the mouse is down and the mouse pointer is touching it, we're going to set a variable to a value. Or no, excuse me, I'm sorry. We're not setting a variable to a value. We're going to change its costume, so that way you know you've clicked on it. So let's go over here to looks, and we want to get to switch costume, and we want to switch to costume A block 3 if the mouse pointer's on it and it's down. If the mouse pointer is touching it but it's not down, then we want a different kind of costume. And let's go ahead and put that right there, which will be A block 2. These costumes are located right here. Okay, so the regular A block is the orange, which is what you see. A block 2 is yellow, and A block 3 is green. And then the last one, which means the mouse pointer is not touching it, we want it to go to its default A block costume. Let's go ahead and play that, check it out. And you can see when we put our mouse over it, okay? It changes to A block 2 right here, which is the yellow one, when our mouse goes over it. Okay, and you can see when the mouse isn't on there, it switches to A block. Okay, so when the mouse is on top of it, it goes to the yellow one. When it's not, it goes to the orange one. And when I click on it, you can see how it switches to A block 3. See that right over here? That's what I'm talking about. Okay, it's switching to A3, and you can quickly see that it changes green. We're just doing this for some simple interactivity. All right, so hopefully that works on yours. And let's go to B block and go ahead and program that. I'm going to click and drag this to the B block. Same with this code, because we just need to change some values to make them work. So when I click on B, that's going to change to B. And as long as the play again is set to no, we're going to keep allowing the user to see the colors change on these letters. And right here, we want the, I think those coordinates are going to change. Yeah, we're going to change this to say 136. And I'm going to change the Y value to say -80. And here, our costumes are different. Okay, these are all called B block. Here, however, we have A block. If you don't change these values, you'll have some errors on the program. If you click on play, you notice when your mouse goes over B, it doesn't change anything. That's because these values are pointing to costumes that don't exist. Over here, it works fine, but over here on B, it doesn't, because B doesn't have these same costumes. Let's go ahead and switch that out to B block 3, B block 2, and last but not least, regular old B block. And we click on play. Now it changes. If I click on it, it should change to green. All right. Hopefully that works for you. Let's go to our equals. And our equals, if I remember correctly, you have to. I made these programs like 2 years ago, so my mind's trying to catch up with what I had done. Okay, the equal block will do the same thing. So I'm just going to drag these over here, and we'll set that to C. You could have probably put like, let it be equal to E for equals, but I just went with C because A, B, C seem to be, you know, right in a row. And costumes, same thing, button 3, button 3A, button 3A2, and button 3A3. So we'll want to go through and change those as well. And, uh-oh, see that? I clicked on this script and it executed. You can see what happens, what I'm talking about. If I click on it wrong, you notice how it highlights in yellow? That means it runs the code. And we wanted it originally right there in the middle. However, we're telling it to go to these XY coordinates repeatedly in these loops. Whoops. So you can see, just like with the backgrounds, it's always going to go right to that location. Okay, we don't want that sprite right there. We want it right here. So here's a little trick. To get into the right location, I drag it to where I want it. I click on any other section except motion. Make sure it's right where you want it. Then go back to motion, and it automatically puts in the XY coordinates to where it's located. You can just drag that off. And now I need to put this block right in here, okay? This is a little tricky. I'm going to drag this out, remove the XY go-to block, put that back right in there, then put this right below it. And now when I click on run, you'll notice that it goes to that XY coordinate, and no matter where no matter where I drag it, it's always going to go there. And you'll notice we didn't program this block right here to always snap back. See how it drags around when I start messing with it? So I want to fix that as well. So let's put it right there. And we're going to program this one the same way we programmed these. I'm going to put it right there. And this block, I think right about there is pretty good. I'm going to click off of motion, then go back to motion. There's my XY coordinates right there. I'm going to remove that, put it back inside the forever, make sure it goes back 10 layers, click on play, and now this sprite is always going to snap back to its location. And I think we are done. I think everything should be in place. Let's go ahead and stop it, and let's try running it here. Okay, we'll set our difficulty to 1, press enter, and oh, we're not done yet. We're not done yet because this is a mess. Okay, we got a huge mess of variables and all sorts of stuff. But I can see the output A is 1.7 and 2.6 is for output B. I'm going to choose B, and it should tell me I'm correct. I should have gotten a correct answer. Where is that variable? Oh, there's B, but I don't want that. I want my score variable. That's what I want. So put score right up there. There's score, and it should set to 1. Next, we're going with output A over output B. You can see it right there. So B again is bigger, so I'm going to click on B. And it should increase my score to 2. Since it's repeats, only set to 2 right here on this value. It's only going to go twice before I ask the user if we want to play again. We're going to go ahead and put in a capital Y, or just let's put in lowercase y. Right here we told it to check to see if they put in a capital Y. But if we put in a lowercase y, watch what Scratch does. It'll go ahead and take capital Y or lowercase y to be equal to each other, which, just so you know, if you use more advanced languages, that will not be true. Okay, so watch out for that. All right, here, let's go ahead and get one wrong. Let's choose output B, because output B over here is less than 5.6. When I click on that, it gives me the noise for incorrect and subtracted 1. Also, notice that round 2 is increasing as we go through. Okay, got that one correct. Subtract, now I'm down to 0. Now, one thing, let's put in 2. Okay, notice, let's put D. Okay, let's put in a bunch of stuff. All right, it won't let us progress until we put in a N or Y. I put in N, stop the program. Okay, we're done with programming. However, we got to clean this up. We got a huge mess. Okay, it's kind of embarrassing, this huge mess we got. So let's get rid of the answer block. Unless you want to keep that around the test, we don't need that. Output A and B, those are great to have around because the user has to be able to guess which ones, or not guess, but know what they're being asked. So we'll keep those two out here. High range, low range, we don't need these. So let's go over here and get rid of high range, low range. Don't need that. Round 2 score, that'd be kind of good to have around. Correct answer, that's good to know for testing, but I think we can live without it. So output A, I'm going to put it right there. However, the people playing your game, if they don't know anything about what you've done, output A is going to confuse them. They're like, I don't get it. So right click on this little variable window and choose large readout, and now you just have the number above the letter A on what it represents. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for output B. Just drag it over there, right click, choose large readout, and then you have 3.4 equals, doesn't need anything. Round 2, I'm going to leave that as is because it's kind of good to know the round number. Put it up here so it's a little bit out of the way. Then score, I'm just going to keep score right underneath round. I could have done it differently. I think in my original video I had round 2, put it right here, and score over here. Okay, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm not so much worried about the the aesthetics of how it looks and the layout. You can put that together yourself. The main thing is if they're using the program, they know where round number is and they know where score is. Well, that's the end of the program. Hope you had a good time. Make sure you like and subscribe this video. If you subscribe, I'll give you access to all the files. You'll be able to go and actually access all the information that we used in this video. Plus, there'll be a few other things out there, such as quizzes and some extension exercises for your students or for yourself if you want to just go ahead and try those out. So thanks for watching again. My name is Ryan, and